All right, this is what we need to get started. You need a hot glue gun, but a low temperature is perfect. And we have two different, I wanted to show you both designs. This actually is the same design, except I took the middle button out of this one. And this is the one that I use regularly, but I wanted to show you why. So this one is like the default design that is in Cricut Design Space, or you could upload yourself to Cricut Design Space and cut. And then I'm going to use your standard quilling tool, slotted quilling tool, to quill it, which just means curl it, right? We're going to make it into a shape, and we're going to keep going around and round, and it's going to get bigger and bigger, and then we're going to make our flower bloom, and I'll show you how. Now you can see when we get to the end, this is the part I always struggled with, so this is why I changed the design for myself. So this is, in theory, supposed to fold over and be the bottom part of your flower, and you're supposed to hot glue it, and you can open it and let it bloom. That's a very tight flower, right? But if you want it to bloom a little, it's no problem. You just let go of it, which I love. And the same thing, you're supposed to use that button to go over the bottom. But it never, for me anyway, it never fits very well. And now it's really not going to cover the whole bottom, which I don't think it has to, but putting hot glue on there and closing it, holding it, was kind of not really working as well as I'd hoped. So what I did, you can see how much that bloomed now. What I was doing when I made them was just ripping this bottom part off and then gluing it on a separate scrap of the same color. So I just started cutting them without that piece. I just sliced it out of there in Cricut Design Space, and I'll show you how it ends up working. It's the exact same method. We're going to quill it. Get all the way to the end, and instead of having that little button to push down on there and hot glue, we are going to glue it on this piece of paper, and then we'll cut it off when it's dry. So I just usually, as many as I can fit on here, depends on your size, right? But this is kind of a medium-ish size one. I like to give them a squeeze, see, and bend the paper and give your petals some shape before you let it bloom. So let's let this one bloom a little bit. It's a very soft blue. It's very pretty. And then I come up, when I'm happy with how much it's unraveled, I give it just a touch hot glue there and hold it down for a second. And then you put a little puddle of hot glue down here. Now be careful, you know you're dealing with hot glue, but it is low temperature, but it's still hot. And then I kind of plant my flower right on there. That's my base. I hold it for a second too, because as that hot glue sets up, it does, it can start to unravel a little bit more in there, or bloom more, I should say, which is fine, except what if you didn't want it like that? What if you wanted it to bloom just as much as you had it, if that makes sense? I really like that, actually. Let's do another one. I have, this looks like it's a little smaller, but this might be the same size. Let's give it a try. Same idea, it does not have a button in the middle. And same quilling tool. Whoopsies, there we go. Give this a quill. Quilling is a great hobby if you haven't tried it. The traditional quilling strips are long, narrow strips. I might have some. Well, here's a little baby pack of them. Little baby pack of 1/8 inch that are only about 8 inches long. Those are really teeny. Those are quilling strips that you can make shapes from. But this is also quilling. We're quilling flowers just a little differently. Also fun. Give it a little pinch. Now, let's see if we can make this bloom a little bit. Sometimes you have to tap it to kind of encourage it to start. And I love that. Give it a little hot glue. Make a little puddle. And And then set it down in your puddle. There we go. Give it a little hold for a second. I don't know, at least 15 seconds maybe. You can even, while the glue is still setting, you can adjust your middle if you want of the flower. Sometimes it shifts, which doesn't have to be in the middle for sure. You know, flowers are different. They don't always have to be in the middle. But sometimes I like to redirect it. Now this is kind of a bigger one. I'm not sure if it's going to fit on that scrap, but let's give it a try. Give it a try. I like to use as much paper as I can on my scraps and not waste it. So let's see. This is going to be kind of a big one now. Actually, I have another scrap, I think, of the same color. See how big that is? I'm making these for a project that I'm working on for a friend that I'm excited to give her. I'll show you the design in a second. Okay, give them a pinch. And then put that blue. And there you go. Wow, can you see how big it can get? If it gets too big and you want to make it smaller, you can just rewind it a little bit. I'm going to put a little dab of glue on that last petal. That's all, the last one to secure it. A little pool of hot glue. A little bigger one since this is a bigger flower, right? You need more. You need a big place to glue this, and I think it'll fit just fine. Give it a little turn to move all the glue around. Hold it still for just a second. Just be careful with that hot glue. It can burn. They do have finger protectors. They sell them at Dollar Tree, actually, I think. Yeah, I think that's where I got mine, Dollar Tree. Maybe 3 of them for $1.25, since it's not really Dollar Tree anymore. All right. And come around your edges. Sometimes if the glue's still hot, that's always challenging, right, for the scissors. You can even fold these back and make them bloom a little bit more, depending what your project is, what your look is you're going for. Some people, and I've done this too, add little beads to the middle. That's pretty. Again, it's all what your project is, what you want them to look like. So at the end of my hot gluing, after I glue a strip of them, I just let them all cool, and then I sit down with the scissors and cut all my flowers out, and before you know it, I've got a plate full of flowers. That's how I divide them. I've cut them on the Cricut, but then I usually divide them on paper plates like this. So this will all be the same color, and then I save the scrap from what I cut, and then I just glue my flower onto my base and then cut them all out when they're cooled off. All right, well, I hope that helped. And if you have any questions, let me know. If you need help slicing that little part out of that flower design, or, you know, what I used to do was just quill it when I was first challenged with using the little end button. You can quill it, and when I got to the end, you could totally do this. I just ripped the button off and didn't use it. But the only reason I changed the design then is I'm like, well, I'm throwing all these away. I might as well just not even cut them in the first place. And then I was saving the button after, I mean, this is the part that didn't cut. I was saving that off the mat and using it, you know, to put my flower on, instead of just throwing that piece away all the time. That's why I changed it. Let's let that bloom. Give it a little glue. You do go through more glue sticks than you think you will. Isn't that always the case? Hold that. Let that, I always blow on the glue to let it, to help it cool. I don't know, probably doesn't help, but all right. So I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions. Send me pictures of your flowers after you do them. Thanks, have a great day.